ways. This will benefit youth in the entire stretch of the waterways to train and acquire skills. Further, a ship repair ecosystem catering to inland waterways will also be set up at Varanasi and Patna. And C, launch a coastal cargo promotion scheme for incentivizing a modal shift from rail to road to increase the share of inland waterways and coastal shipping from 6% to 12% by 2047. To enhance last mile and remote connectivity and promote tourism, I propose to give incentives to indigenize manufacturing of seaplanes. A seaplane VGF scheme will be also introduced to provide support for operations. Carbon capture, utilization and storage. Aligning with the roadmap launched in December 2025, the carbon capture, utilization and storage technologies at scale will achieve higher readiness and in end-use application across 5 industrial sectors, including power, steel, cement, refineries, and chemicals. An outlay of 20,000 crore is proposed over the next 5 years for this purpose. City economic regions. Cities are India's engines of growth, innovation, and opportunities. We shall now focus on Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, and even temple towns, which need modern infrastructure and basic amenities. This budget aims to further amplify the potential of cities to deliver the economic power of agglomerations by mapping city economic regions based on their specific growth drivers. An allocation of 5,000 crore per CER over 5 years is proposed for implementing their plans through a challenge mode with a reform-cum-result-based financing mechanism. In order to promote environmentally sustainable passenger systems, we will develop 7 high-speed rail corridors between cities as growth connectors, namely Mumbai to Pune, Pune to Hyderabad, Hyderabad to Bengaluru, Hyderabad to Chennai, Chennai to Bengaluru, Delhi to Varanasi, Varanasi to Siliguri. Financial sector. The Indian banking sector today is characterized by strong balance sheet, historic highs in profitability, improved asset quality, and coverage exceeding 98% of villages in the country. At this juncture, we are well placed to futuristically evaluate the measures needed to continue on the path of reform-led growth of this sector. I propose setting up a high-level committee on banking for Vikasit Bharat. High-level committee on banking for Vikasit Bharat to comprehensively review the sector and align it with India's next phase of growth, while safeguarding financial stability, inclusion, and consumer protection. The vision for NBFCs for Vikasit Bharat has been outlined with clear targets for credit disbursement and technology adoption in order to achieve scale and improve efficiency in the public sector NBFCs. As a first step, it is proposed to restructure the Power Finance Corporation and Rural Electrification Corporation. I propose a comprehensive review of the foreign exchange management non-debt instruments rules to create a more contemporary, user-friendly framework for foreign investments consistent with India's evolving economic priorities. Corporate bond market. I propose to introduce a market-making framework with suitable access to funds and derivatives on corporate bond indices. I also propose to introduce total return swaps on corporate bonds. Municipal bonds. To encourage the issuance of municipal bonds of higher value by larger cities, I propose an incentive of 100 crore rupees for a single bond issuance. 100 crore rupees for a single bond issuance of more than 1,000 crore. The current scheme under Amrit which incentivizes issuances up to 200 crores only, will also continue to support smaller and medium towns. That will also continue to support the smaller and medium towns. Ease of doing business. Individual persons resident outside India, PROI, will be permitted to invest in equity instruments of listed Indian companies through the Portfolio Investment Scheme. It is also proposed to increase the investment limit for an individual PROI under the scheme from 5% to 10%, with an overall investment limit for all individual PROIs to 24% from the current 10%. Emerging technologies including AI. 21st century is technology-driven. Adoption of technology is for the benefit of all people. Farmers in the field, women in STEM, youth keen to upskill, and Divyangjan to access newer opportunities. The government has taken several steps to support new technologies through AI Mission, National Quantum Mission, Anusandhan National Research Fund, and Research and Development and Innovation Fund. Our second kartavya is to fulfill aspirations and build capacities. Close to 25 crore individuals have come out of multi-dimensional poverty through a decade of our government's sustained and reform-oriented efforts. Our government has therefore decided to place a renewed emphasis on the service sector to provide a pathway to fulfilling aspirations of a youthful India with the following measures. I propose to set up a high-powered Education to Employment and Enterprises Standing Committee to recommend measures that focus on services sector as a core driver of Viksit Bharat. This will make us a global leader in services with a 10% global share by 2047. The committee will prioritize areas to optimize the potential for growth, employment, and exports. They will also assess the impact of emerging technologies, including AI, on jobs and skill requirements and propose measures thereof. To create a range of skilled career pathways, a new range of skilled career pathways for our youth, I propose interventions in the following sectors. Health. Existing institutions for allied health professionals will be upgraded and new AHP institutions established in private and government sectors. This will cover 10 selected disciplines, including optometry, radiology, anesthesia, OT technology, applied psychology, and behavioral health, and add 1 lakh AHPs over the next 5 years. A strong care system covering geriatric and allied care services will be built. A variety of NSQF aligned programs will be developed to train multi-skilled caregivers, combining core care and allied skills such as wellness, yoga, and operation of medical assistive devices. In the coming year, 1.5 lakh caregivers will be trained. Hubs for medical value tourism. To promote India as a hub for medical tourism services, I propose to launch a scheme to support states in establishing 5 regional medical hubs in partnership with the private sector. These hubs will serve as integrated healthcare complexes that combine medical, educational, and research facilities. They will have Ayush centers, medical value tourism facilitation centers, and infrastructure for diagnostics, post-care, and rehabilitation. These hubs will provide diverse opportunities, job opportunities for health professionals, including doctors and AHPs. Ancient Indian yoga, already respected in several parts of the world, was given a mass global recognition when Honorable Prime Minister took it to the UN. Post-COVID, Ayurveda gained a similar global acceptance and recognition. Exporting quality Ayurveda products helps farmers who grow the herbs and youth who process the products. To meet growing global demand, a few more steps are being taken. I propose to 1. Set up 3 new All India Institutes of Ayurveda. 2. Upgrade Ayush pharmacies and drug testing labs for higher standards of certification ecosystem and make available more skilled personnel. 3. Upgrade the WHO Global Traditional Medicine Center in Jamnagar to bolster evidence-based research, training, and awareness for traditional medicine. Animal husbandry. Livestock contributes to close to 16% of farm income, including of poor and marginal households. To scale up availability of veterinary professionals by more than 20,000, I propose to roll out a loan-linked capital subsidy support scheme for establishment of veterinary and para-veterinary colleges, veterinary hospitals, diagnostic laboratories, and breeding facilities in private sector. Collaboration between Indian and foreign institutions will also be facilitated. Orange economy. India's animation, visual effects, gaming and comics sector, AVGC sector, is a growing industry projected to require 2 million professionals by 2030. I propose to support the Indian Institute of Creative Technologies, Mumbai, in setting up AVGC content creator labs in 15,000 secondary schools all over the country and 500 colleges. The Indian design industry is expanding rapidly, and yet there is a shortage of Indian designers. I propose to establish, through Challenge Route, a new National Institute of Design to boost design education and development in the eastern region of India. Education. Our government will support states through Challenge Route in creating 5 university townships in the vicinity of major industrial and logistics corridors. These planned academic zones will host multiple universities, colleges, and research institutions, skill centers, and residential complexes. In higher education, STEM institutions, prolonged hours of study and laboratory work pose some challenges for girl students. Through VGF, viability gap funding and capital support, one girls' hostel will be established in every district. To promote astrophysics and astronomy via immersive experiences. 4 telescope infrastructure facilities will be set up or upgraded. The National Large Solar Telescope, the National Large Optical Infrared Telescope, the Himalayan Chandra Telescope, and the Cosmos 2 Planetarium. Tourism. The tourism sector has the potential to play a large role in the employment generation, forex earnings, and expanding the local economy. I propose to set up a National Institute of Hospitality by upgrading the existing National Council for Hotel Management and Catering Technology. It will function as a bridge between academia, industry, and government. I also propose a pilot scheme for upskilling 10,000 guides in 20 iconic tourist sites through a standardized, high-quality, 12-week training course in hybrid mode in collaboration with the Indian Institute of Management. A national destination digital knowledge grid will be established to digitally document all places of significance, cultural, spiritual, and heritage. This initiative will create a new ecosystem of jobs for local researchers, historians, content creators, and technology partners. India has the potential and opportunity to offer world-class trekking and hiking experience. We will develop ecologically sustainable mountain trails in Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and Jammu Kashmir. Also in Araku Valley in the Eastern Ghats and Podigai Malai in the Western Ghats. Turtle trails along key nesting sites in the coastal areas of Odisha, Karnataka, and Kerala. And 3 bird watching trails along the Pulikat Lake in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu. It's on the border. Under the visionary leadership of Honorable Prime Minister, we established the International Big Cat Alliance in 2024. This year, India is hosting the first ever Global Big Cat Summit, where heads of governments and ministers from 95 range countries will deliberate on collective strategies for conservation. Heritage and culture tourism. I propose to develop 15 archaeological sites, including Lothal, Dolavira, Rakigadi, Adichanallu, Saranath, Hastinapur, and Leh Palace into vibrant experiential cultural destinations. Excavated landscapes will be open to the public through curated walkways. Immersive storytelling skills and technologies will be introduced to help conservation labs, interpretation centers, and guides. The sports sector provides multiple means of employment, skilling, and job opportunities. Taking forward the systematic nurturing of sports talent, which is set in motion through the Khelo India program earlier, I propose to launch a Khelo India mission to transform the sports sector over the next decade. The mission will facilitate an integrated talent development pathway supported by training centers, which are foundational, intermediate, and elite levels. B, systematic development of coaches and support staff. C, integration of sports science and technology. D, competitions and leagues to promote sports culture and provide platforms. And E, development of sports infrastructure for training and competition. Our third Kartavya aligns with our vision of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas towards Vikasit Bharat. This requires targeted efforts for 1. Increasing farmer incomes through productivity enhancement and entrepreneurship, with special attention to small and marginal farmers. B. Empowering Divyangjan through access to livelihood opportunities, training, and high-quality assistive devices. C. Empowering the vulnerable to access mental health and trauma care. D. Focus on the Purvodaya states and the Northeast region to accelerate development and employment opportunities. Fisheries. We will undertake initiatives for integrated development of 500 reservoirs and Amrit Sarovars. 2. Strengthen the fisheries value chain in coastal areas and enable market linkages involving startups and women-led groups together with fish farmer producer organizations. Animal husbandry. To provide quality employment opportunities in rural and peri-urban areas, we will support the animal husbandry sector in entrepreneurship development through A. A credit-linked subsidy program. B. Scaling up and modernization of livestock enterprises. C. Enhanced creation of livestock, dairy, and poultry. Enhanced creation of livestock, dairy, and poultry-focused integrated value chains. And D. Encourage creation of livestock farmer-producer organizations. High-value agriculture. To diversify farm outputs, increase productivity, enhance farmers' incomes, and create new employment opportunities, we will support high-value crops such as coconut, sandalwood, cocoa, cashew in the coastal areas, agar trees in northeast, and nuts such as almonds, walnuts, and pine nuts in our hilly regions. These, all of them, will be supported. India is the world's largest producer of coconuts. About 30 million people, including nearly 10 million farmers, depend on coconuts for their livelihood. To further enhance competitiveness in coconut production, I propose a coconut promotion scheme to increase production and enhance productivity through various interventions, including replacing and non-productive trees with new saplings or plants or varieties in major coconut growing states. A dedicated program is proposed for Indian cashew and cocoa to make India self-reliant in raw cashew and coconut production and processing, enhance export competitiveness, and transform Indian cashew and Indian cocoa into premium global brands by 2030. Sandalwood. Sandalwood is closely linked to India's social and cultural heritage. Our government will partner with state governments to promote focused cultivation and post-harvest processing to restore the glory of the Indian sandalwood ecosystem, to rejuvenate old, low-yielding orchards, and expand high-density cultivation of walnuts, almonds, and pine nuts. We will support a dedicated program to enhance farmer incomes and in bringing value addition by engaging youth. Bharat Vistar, that is virtually integrated system to access agricultural resources. I propose to launch Bharat Vistar, a multilingual AI tool that shall integrate the AgriStack portals and the ICAR package on agricultural practices with AI systems This will enhance farm productivity, enable better decisions for farmers, and reduce risk by providing customized advisory support. She marts for rural women-led enterprises. Building on the success of Lakpati Didi program, I propose to help women take the next step from credit-linked livelihoods to being owners of enterprises. Self-help entrepreneur, she marts will be set up as community-owned retail outlets within the cluster-level federations through enhanced and innovative financing instruments. Empowering Divyangjan. Divyangjan Kaushal Yojana. Information technology, AVGC sectors, hospitality and food and beverages sectors often offer task-oriented and process-driven roles which are suitable for Divyangjan. We will ensure dignified livelihood opportunities through industry-relevant and customized training specific to each Divyangjan group. Divyang Sahara Yojana. Timely access to high-quality assistive devices for all eligible Divyangjan is a fundamental need. I propose to 1. Support the Artificial Limbs Manufacturing Corporation of India, ALIMCO, to set up and to scale up production of assistive devices, invest in R&D and AI integration, strengthen PM Divyasha Kendras, and support setting up of assistive technology marts as modern retail style centers where Divyangjan and senior citizens can see, try and purchase assistive products. Reaffirming our commitment to mental health and trauma care. There are no national institutes for mental health care in North India. We will therefore set tourism destinations in 5 Purvodaya states and the provision of 4,000 e-buses. Buddhist sites in northeastern region. The northeastern region is a civilizational confluence of Theravada and Mahayana or Vajrayana traditions. I propose to launch a scheme for development of Buddhist circuits in Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Assam, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura. The scheme will cover preservation of temples and monasteries, pilgrimage interpretation centers, connectivity and pilgrim amenities. 16th Finance Commission. On 17th November 2025, the 16th Finance Commission submitted its report to the President. As mandated under Article 281 of the Constitution, the government is to lay the report along with the explanatory memorandum on the action taken report on the recommendations of the Commission in Parliament, which, Sir, Honourable Speaker, you've allowed me to do at the commencement of this session. The government has accepted the recommendation of the Commission to retain the vertical share of devolution at 41%. As recommended by the Commission, I have provided 1.4 lakh crores of rupees to the states for the year 2026-2027 as Finance Commission grants. These include rural and urban local body and disaster management grants. Fiscal consolidation. Government has been delivering on our fiscal commitments consistently without compromising on social needs. To strive towards accepted standards of fiscal management in Budget 25-26, I had indicated that the central government would target reaching a debt to GDP ratio of 50 plus or minus 1% by 2030-31. In line with this, The debt to GDP ratio is estimated to be 55.6% of GDP in BE 26-27, compared to 56.1% of GDP in RE 25-26. A declining debt to GDP ratio will gradually free up resources for priority sector lending and expenditure by reducing the outgo on interest payments. One of the main operational instruments for debt targeting is the fiscal deficit. I am happy to inform this august House that I fulfilled my commitment made in 2021-2022 to reduce fiscal deficit below 4.5% of GDP by 25-26. In RE 25-26, the fiscal deficit has been estimated at par with BE of 2025-26 at 4.4% of GDP. In line with the new fiscal prudence path of debt consolidation, the fiscal deficit in BE 26-27 is estimated to be 4.3% of the GDP. The revised estimates of the non-debt receipts are 34 lakh crore rupees, of which the centre's net tax receipts are 26.7 lakh crore. The revised estimate of the total expenditure is 49.6 lakh crore rupees, of which the capital expenditure is about 11 lakh crores. Budget estimates 2026 to 2027. Coming to 26-27, the non-debt receipts and the total expenditure are estimated as 36.5 lakh crore and 53.5 lakh crore respectively. The centre's net tax receipts are estimated at 28.7 lakh crore rupees. To finance the fiscal deficit, the net market borrowings from dated securities are estimated at 11.7 lakh crore rupees. The balance financing is expected to come from small savings and other sources. The gross market borrowings are estimated at 17.2 lakh crore rupees. I'll now move to Part B. Part B, direct taxes. Honorable Speaker, sir, I now present my proposals on direct taxes. New Income Tax Act. In July 2024, I announced a comprehensive review of the Income Tax Act 1961. This was completed in a record time, and the Income Tax Act 2025 will come into effect from 1st April 2026. The simplified income tax rules and forms will be notified shortly, giving adequate time to taxpayers to acquaint themselves with its requirements. The forms have been redesigned such that ordinary citizens can comply without difficulty. Ease of living. I propose that any interest awarded by the Motor Accident Claims Tribunal to a natural person will be exempt from income tax, and any TDS on this account will be done away with. I propose to reduce TCS rate on the sale of overseas tour program package from the current 5% and 20% to 2% without any stipulation of amount. I propose to reduce TCS rate for pursuing education and for medical purposes under the Liberalized Remittance Scheme, popularly known as LRS, from 5% to 2%. Supply of manpower services is proposed to be specifically brought within the ambit of payment to contractors for the purpose of TDS to avoid ambiguity. Thus, TDS on these services will be at the rate of either 1% or 2% only. I propose a scheme for small taxpayers, wherein a rule-based automated process will enable obtaining a lower or nil deduction certificate instead of filing an application with the assessing officer. For the ease of taxpayer holding securities in multiple companies, I propose to enable depositories to accept Form 15G or Form 15H from the investor and provide it directly to various relevant companies. I propose to extend time available for revising returns from 31st December to up to 31st March with the payment of a nominal fee. I also propose to stagger the timeline for filing of tax returns. Individuals with ITR 1 and ITR 2 returns will continue to file till 31st July, and non-audit business cases or trusts are proposed to be allowed time till 31st August. TDS on sale of immovable property by a non-resident is proposed to be deducted and deposited through resident buyers and his or her PAN-based challan instead of requiring a TAN, which is a temporary accounting number. To address practical issues of small taxpayers like students, young professionals, tech employees, relocated NRIs, and such others, I propose to introduce a one-time 6-month foreign asset disclosure scheme for these taxpayers to disclose income or assets below a certain size. This scheme would be applicable for two categories of taxpayers, namely A, who did not disclose their overseas income or assets, and B, who disclosed their overseas income and or paid due tax but could not declare the asset acquired. For category A, the limit of undisclosed income or asset is proposed to be up to 1 crore rupees. They need to pay 30% of fair market value of asset or 30% of undisclosed income as tax and 30% as additional income tax in lieu of penalty, and would thereby get immunity from prosecution. For category B, asset value is proposed to be up to 5 crore rupees. Here, immunity from both penalty and prosecution will be available with a payment of fee of 1 lakh rupees. Rationalizing penalty and prosecution. Multiplicity of proceedings are hindrance to the ease of doing business. I propose to integrate assessment and penalty proceedings by way of a common order for both. There will be no interest liability on the taxpayer on the penalty amount for the period of appeal before the first appellate authority, irrespective of the outcome of appeal process. Further, quantum of prepayment is being reduced from 20% to 10% and will continue to be calculated only on core tax demand. As an additional measure for reducing litigation, I propose to allow taxpayers to update their returns even after reassessment proceedings have been initiated, and an additional 10% tax rate over and above the rate applicable for the relevant year. The assessing officer will then use only this updated return in his proceedings. There is already a framework for immunity from penalty and prosecution in the cases of underreporting. I propose to apply this framework for immunity to misreporting too. However, in such a case, the taxpayer will need to pay 100% of the tax amount as an additional income tax over and above the tax and interest due. Penalties for certain technical defaults, such as failure to get accounts audited, non-furnishing of transfer pricing audit report, and default in furnishing statement for financial transactions, are proposed to be converted into fee. I propose to rationalize prosecution framework under Income Tax Act while maintaining a careful balance for deterrence in some serious offence. Non-production of books of account and documents and requirement of TDS payment where payment is made in kind are being decriminalized. Further, minor offences will attract fine only. The remaining prosecutions will be graded commensurate with the quantum of offence. They will entail only simple imprisonment with maximum imprisonment reduced to 2 years and power to courts to convert even those into fines. There is no penalty. There is no penalty presently for non-disclosure of non-immovable foreign assets with aggregate value less than 20 lakh rupees. I propose to also provide them with immunity from prosecution with retrospective effect from 1/10/2024. Cooperatives. Deduction is already allowed to a primary cooperative society engaged in supplying milk, oilseeds, fruits or vegetables raised or grown by its members. I propose to extend this deduction to also include supply of cattle feed and cotton seed produced by its members. I propose to allow inter-cooperative society dividend income as deduction under the new tax regime to the extent it is further distributed to its members. I further propose to allow exemption for a period of 3 years to dividend income received by a notified national cooperative federation on their investments made in companies up to 31/1/2026. This exemption would be allowed only for dividends further distributed to its member cooperatives. Supporting IT sector as India's growth engine. India is a global leader in software development services, IT-enabled services, knowledge process outsourcing services, and contract R&D services relating to software development. These businesses and their segments are quite interconnected with each other. All these services are proposed to be clubbed under a single category of information technology services with a common safe harbor margin of 15.5% applicable to all. The threshold for availing safe harbor for IT services is being enhanced substantially from 300 crore rupees to 2,000 crore rupees. Safe harbor for IT services shall be approved by an automated rule-driven process without any need for tax officer to examine and accept the application. Once applied by an IT services company, the same safe harbor can be continued for a period of 5 years at a stretch at its choice. For IT services companies who want to conclude advanced pricing agreement, APA, I propose to fast-track unilateral APA process for IT services and endeavor to conclude it within a period of 2 years. The period of 2 years can be extended by a further period of 6 months on taxpayers' request. I propose to extend the facility of modified returns available to the entity entering APA to its associated entities also. Attracting global business and investment. Recognizing the need to enable critical infrastructure and boost investment in data centers.
मेरे साथ इमरान प्रताप गढ़ी हैं। आज बजट आने वाला है। बजट से क्या उम्मीद है आपको?
इस सरकार से ही कोई उम्मीद नहीं तो बजट से क्या उम्मीद रहेगी? गिला करें वो जिन्हें तुमसे कोई उम्मीदें थी, हमें तो खैर तेरा एतबार था ही नहीं। 11 बार बजट पेश होते हुए हमने देख लिया है कि इस बजट में आम आदमी के लिए कुछ होता ही नहीं, जनता के लिए कुछ होता ही नहीं। उद्योगपतियों का बजट आएगा, लेकिन फिर भी देखते हैं क्या निकलता है वित्त मंत्री के पिटारे से।
इतनी नाउम्मीद क्यों है आप?
सरकार ने नाउम्मीद कर दिया है, पूरे देश को नाउम्मीद किया है। अब तो बजट से ज्यादा बाकी फाइलें देश के सामने दिख रही हैं।
लेकिन सरकार का कहना है कि आर्थिक विकास को गति देने वाला, आर्थिक सुधार को गति देने वाला बजट होगा।
पहले बजट आए उसके बाद चर्चा करते हैं। हमें उम्मीद नहीं है, क्योंकि पिछली तमाम बार जब बजट आया है ऐसे ही दावे किए चीनी और दही खा करके वित्त मंत्री महोदय आई और बाद में चीनी और दही का रेट बढ़ा के चली गई।
थैंक यू सो मच।
For electronic manufacturing, I propose to provide safe harbor to non-residents for component warehousing in a bonded warehouse at a profit margin of 2% of the invoice value. The resultant tax of about 0.7% will be much lower than in competing jurisdictions. To provide fillip to toll manufacturing in India, I propose to provide exemption from income tax for 5 years to any non-resident who provides capital goods, equipment or tooling to any toll manufacturer in a bonded zone. To encourage vast pool of global talent to work in India for a longer period of time, I propose to provide exemption to global
बजट पेश कुछ ही मिनटों में पेश हो जाएगा, लेकिन विपक्ष का कहना है नाउमीदों वाला बजट है।
विपक्ष का काम यह है बोलना है जब दुनिया की सब
notified schemes. I propose to provide exemption from minimum alternate tax, the MAT, to all non-residents who pay tax on presumptive basis. Tax administration. I propose to constitute a joint committee of Ministry of Corporate Affairs and Central Board of Direct Taxes for incorporating the requirements of income computation and disclosure standards, the ICDS, in the Indian accounting standards in AS itself. Separate accounting requirement based on ICDS will be done away with from the tax year 27-28. To support Prime Minister Modi's vision of homegrown accounting and advisory firms to become global leaders, I propose to rationalize the definition of accountant for the purposes of safe harbor rules. Other tax proposals. Change in taxation of buyback was brought in to address the improper use of buyback route by promoters. In the interest of minority shareholders, I propose to tax buyback for all types of shareholders as capital gains. However, to disincentivize misuse of tax arbitrage, promoters will pay an additional buyback tax. This will make effective tax 22% for corporate promoters. For non-corporate promoters, the effective tax will be 30%. TCF rate for sellers of specific goods, namely alcoholic liquor, scrap and minerals, will be rationalized to 2%, and that on Tendu beans will be reduced from 5% to 2%. I propose to raise the STT on futures to 0.05% from the present 0.02%. STT on options premium and exercise of
पूरी
options
उम्मीद रखना चाहिए,
are both
भरोसा
proposed
रखना
to be
चाहिए मोदी
raised
सरकार
to
को, जो भी होगा इस देश की जनता के हित में
from
ही
the present rate of 0.1% and 0.125% respectively. We reformed the taxation landscape for corporates in 2019 by providing them a simplified regime with lower tax rate so that they could productively focus on business rather than on claim of deductions and exemptions. To encourage companies to shift to the new regime, set off of brought forward MAT credit, minimum alternate tax credit, is proposed to be allowed to companies only in the new regime. Set off
अपने आप
using
में कई सारे
available
first
MAT
यहाँ पर
credit is proposed to be allowed to an extent of 1/4 of the tax liability in the new regime. MAT is proposed to be made final tax, so there will be no further credit accumulation from 1st April 2026. In line with this change, the rate of final tax is being reduced to 14% from the current MAT rate of 15%. will continue to be available to them for set off as above. Indirect taxes.
एक ऐसा प्रस्ताव कर रहे हैं जिसमें मेगा पार्क की स्थापना की जाएगी। इससे मूल्य संवर्धन होगा टेक्निकल टेक्सटाइल्स के बारे में, और मेरा प्रस्ताव ये है, महात्मा गांधी स्वराज योजना की हम शुरुआत कर रहे हैं जो हैंडलूम और हैंडीक्राफ्ट्स पर आधारित होगी। इससे वैश्विक बाजारों में हमें मदद मिलेगी अपनी खुद की ब्रांडिंग करने की, और इससे कौशल विकास होगा, लोगों को प्रशिक्षण दिया जाएगा, उत्पादन में भी फायदा होगा, बुनकरों को, गांव के उद्योगों को फायदा होगा, और साथ ही साथ एक जिला एक उत्पाद की जो हमारी व्यवस्था है वो आगे बढ़ेगी और ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों को इससे फायदा होगा। भारत में क्षमता है कि हम सब लोग अपने देश को खेलों के सामान के मामले में भी आत्मनिर्भर बना सकें, इसका निर्यात कर सकें, और हम इसके लिए एक योजना लाने।
I propose to increase the limit for duty-free imports of specified inputs used for processing seafoods for export from the current 1% to 3% of FOB value of the previous year's export turnover. I also propose to allow duty-free imports of specified inputs, which is currently available for exports of leather or synthetic footwear, to exports of shoe uppers as well. I propose to extend the time period for export of final product from the existing 6 months to 1 year for exporters of leather or textile garments, leather or synthetic footwear and other leather products. Energy transition and security. I propose to extend the basic customs duty exemption given to capital goods used for manufacturing lithium-ion cells for batteries to those used for manufacturing lithium-ion cells for battery energy storage systems also. I propose to exempt basic customs duty on import of sodium antimonate for use in manufacture of solar glass. Nuclear power. I propose to extend the existing basic customs duty exemption on imports of goods required for nuclear power projects till the year 2035 and expand it for all nuclear plants irrespective of their capacity. Critical minerals. It is proposed to provide basic customs duty exemption to the import of capital goods required for the processing of critical minerals in India. Biogas blended CNG. I propose to exclude the entire value of biogas while calculating the central excise duty payable on biogas blended CNG. Civil and defense aviation. I propose to exempt basic customs duty on components and parts required for the manufacture of civilian training and other aircrafts. It is proposed to exempt basic customs duty on raw materials imported for the manufacture of parts of aircraft to be used in maintenance, repair, or overall requirements by units in the defense sector. Electronics. To deepen value addition in the consumer electronics sector, I propose to exempt basic customs duty on specified parts used in the manufacture of microwave ovens. Special economic zone. To address the concerns arising about utilization of capacity by manufacturing units in the special economic zones due to global trade disruptions, I propose as a special one-time measure to facilitate sales by eligible manufacturing units in SEZs to the domestic tariff area at concessional rates. The quantity of such sales will be limited to a prescribed proportion of their export. Necessary regulatory changes will be
मिले
undertaken to
रात में 9 बजे क्यों गए
operationalize the measures while ensuring
5
level
तारीख की
playing
रात
field
में
for the units working in the DTA.
9 बजे
Ease of living. To rationalize
आप
the customs
बच्ची लोगों
duty
से क्या
structure
मिले
for
थे?
goods
क्यों मिले थे?
imported for personal use, I propose to reduce the tariff rate
मेरे पूर्णिया
on
कटिहार
all
की 2 बच्ची
dutiable
फर्स्ट फ्लोर पर
goods
थी।
imported for personal
वो
use from
बिल्कुल हमसे
20% to 10%.
कल रात सारी डिटेल बात उन्होंने बताई।
To provide relief to patients, particularly those suffering from cancer, I propose to
कटिहार
exempt
की है, हम-
basic customs duty
हम
on
बोल चुके हैं।
17 drugs or
कल आप-
medicines.
नीतू जी मैं बोल
I
चुका
propose
हूँ।
also to add
वीडियो
7 more
पर
rare
सुन लीजिए।
diseases for the purposes of
मैं
exempting
बोल चुका
import
हूँ।
duties on personal imports of drugs, medicines and food for special medical purposes used
बच्ची
in their
इस
treatment.
तरह तो दुनिया में नहीं
Customs
जाने देंगे हम
process.
बच्ची को।
India's role and
जो
share in the global
हुआ
trade is
है,
poised for a major
उसको
lead.
इतने सस्ते
In
में तो
line with our ambition
नीतू जी हम
and
नहीं
journey
जानते।
towards Viksit
5
Bharat.
तारीख के रात
In
में
this
9
regard,
बजे से
I
10 बजे
propose
के
many
बीच आप
measures for
बस
customs
इतने हमको
processes
सिर्फ
to
बता
have
दीजिए वहाँ
minimal
थे या नहीं।
intervention for smoother and faster movement of goods and greater
हम जो-
certainty in the trade. Trust-based systems.
हाँ, कभी-
I
बस-
propose
बस-
to
बस-
enhance
बस- बस-
duty
वही।
deferral period for tier 2
हाँ,
and tier
बस-
3
बस यही
authorized
जानना,
economic
यही,
operators,
हम भी यही जानना
known as
चाहते हैं
AEOs,
कि आप कभी
from 15
जाते हैं।
days to
तो
30
पाँच
days. I
पाँच-
propose to provide eligible manufacturer
हाँ,
importers the same duty deferral facility. This
बहुत
should
अच्छा। तो
encourage
5
them
तारीख के
to
रात
get
में 9 बजे आप
themselves
किसको
accredited
समझा रहे थे?
as a
कौन बच्ची
full-fledged
को?
tier 3 AEO in due course.
आप देख ली याद कर
To provide greater certainty
आप-
and for
आप
better
याद
business
कर लीजिए,
planning,
हम
I
वीडियो पर बोल
propose to
चुके हैं,
extend
सुन लीजिए।
validity period of
और आप
advance
याद कर
ruling
लीजिए।
binding on customs from the present 3 years to 5 years. In the spirit of the
नीतू
whole of
जी,
government approach,
आप हमको और लोग मत बूझ लीजिएगा। मैं आपसे सिर्फ इतना आग्रह कर रहा हूँ।
government agencies will be encouraged to leverage
मेरी
AEO
बात
accreditation.
नीतू जी मेरी बात सिर्फ इतना हमको
preferential
बताइए।
treatment in
5
clearing
तारीख
their
के
cargo.
रात में
Regular
आप याद
importers
कर
with
लीजिए 9
trusted
बजे से 10 बजे के बीच हॉस्टल
long-standing
में
supply
थे।
chains
तो आप
will be
किनको समझाने
recognized
गए
in the
थे? बस
risk
इतना ही
system
बात है
so
और कोई
that
बात नहीं।
the need for verification of the cargo every time can be minimized.
ठीक
Export cargo using
हाँ।
electronic sealing.
ठीक है बस यही जानना था।
Export cargo
Yeah.
using electronic sealing will be provided through clearance from the
Hello?
factory premises to the ship. For import of goods not needing any compliance, filing of bill of entry by a trusted importer and arrival of goods will automatically notify customs for completing their clearance formalities. This will enable goods to be released immediately on arrival. The customs warehouse framework will be transformed into a warehouse operator-centric system with a self-declarations, electronic tracking, and risk-based audit. These reforms will move away from the current system of officer-dependent approvals and reduce transaction delays and compliance costs. Ease of doing business. Approvals required for cargo clearance from various government agencies will be seamlessly processed through a single and interconnected digital window by the end of the financial year. Processes involved in clearance of food, drugs, plant and animal and wildlife products accounting for about 70% of interdicted cargo will be operationalized on this system by April 2026 itself. For goods not having any compliance requirement, clearance will be done by customs immediately after online registration is completed by the importer, subject to the payment of duty. Customs integrated system will be rolled out in 2 years as a single integrated and scalable platform for all customs processes. Utilization of non-intrusive scanning with advanced imaging and AI technology for risk assessment will be expanded in a phased manner with the objective to scan every container across all the major ports. New export opportunities to support Indian fishermen to fully harness the economic value of marine resources beyond our territorial waters. The following measures will be taken. A. Fish catch by an Indian fishing vessel in exclusive economic zone or on the high seas will be made free of duty. Landing of such fish on foreign port will be treated as export of goods. Safeguards will be put in place to prevent misuse during fish catch, transit or transshipment. To support aspirations of India's small businesses, artisans and startups to access global markets through e-commerce, I am pleased to announce complete removal of the current value cap of 10 lakh rupees per consignment on courier exports. In addition, handling of rejected and returned consignments will be improved with effective use of technology for identifying such consignments. I propose to revise provisions governing baggage clearance during international travel to address genuine concerns of passengers. The revised rules will enhance duty-free allowances in line with the present-day travel realities and provide clarity in temporary carriage of goods brought in or taken out. There are honest taxpayers who are willing to settle disputes by paying all their dues, but they get deterred due to negative connotation associated with penalty. They will now be able to close cases by paying an additional amount in lieu of penalty. Honorable Speaker, sir, with this, I commend the budget to this august House. Jai Hind. One and a half hours.
आइटम नंबर 3 माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी।
Item number 2, sir.
3.
Sir, with your permission, I rise to lay on the table of the following statements under Section 3, 1 of the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act of 2003. Medium-term fiscal policy cum fiscal policy strategy statement and macroeconomic framework statement.
आइटम नंबर 4 माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी।
Sir, with your permission, I move for leave to introduce the Finance Bill 2026.
प्रश्न ये कि विधेयक को पुनर्स्थापित करने की अनुमति प्रदान की जाए। जो सदस्य इस पक्ष में हाँ गए, जो सदस्य विरोध में ना गए, मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में हाँ वालों के पक्ष में अनुमति प्रदान की जाती है। माननीय मंत्री जी, अब विधेयक पूरे स्थापित करें।
Sir, I introduce the bill.
माननीय सदस्यगण, आपको सूचित किया जाता है कि माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी के बजट भाषण की कॉपी पब्लिकेशन काउंटर पर ली जाती है। बजट भाषण और बजट से संबंधित दस्तावेज आपके मोबाइल फोन और मेंबर पोर्टल्स पर ही उपलब्ध है। सभा की कार्रवाई कल सोमवार दिनांक 2 फरवरी 2026 को प्राप्त 11 बजे तक के लिए